It's my pleasure to moderate and facilitate this panel discussion. So we have got a group of really experts from various industries. So we've got Justyna Lebedyk from Commerzbank. We've got Cristina Álvarez López from PMI. Armin Müller, that we've heard recently from Lidl. Vanya Tokic from RBI, which his presentation earlier. Vitambara Mundrai from Nestlé, and Wim Stoop from Cloudera. I hope I did not miss anyone.
We are just giving co-host to the ones who are going to join now. We are missing, yeah, but you can start already.
Okay, perfect. So our theme, and we only have got 40 minutes time, so which is not a lot. Our theme is, as you may have seen in the agenda, the data-driven company, the data-driven organization, data-centric organization, which is a wide field, of course, and it's a big theme. And as we all know, there are a lot of aspects in regard when it comes to how to manage data in a modern way. So there is, of course, the technology, there is the architecture and the various concepts that are around. There is the security piece, there is the governance piece, and all this kind of thing. But also, equally important, there is the cultural piece of it, organizational, so many things. We probably cannot touch all of them, but we will try to touch a few. And maybe as a start, very generically, I mean, the data-driven company, I mean, we're hearing this so often. Sometimes it appears to be really, is this a new hype? Is this a new buzzword? Sometimes if you look behind what organizations are doing, claiming to be a data-driven organization, then sometimes they're still far away from being there. So my first question would be, why is it important to be data-driven? Why is data centricity important? And how can it contribute to the success of an organization? So maybe Cristina, do you want to elaborate on that a bit?
Yes, thank you very much, Otto, for the question. So let me maybe start with a well-known refrain for all of us that I think we all know, which is that data has become the new oil of the 21st century, right? 90% of the data available right now worldwide has been generated only by the last years. So I think this gives us already a good idea of the importance and the magnitude of the resource. In our day-to-day lives, we are generating and releasing data with almost every action we do. And I think this has been well understood by the vast majority of companies that they use right now data to boost the revenues as well to gain in competitive advantage. I think that when the data is used in a proper way, you must agree with me that we see the benefits, but not only from a company perspective, but as well from an individual perspective, right? So now we have much more accurate medical treatments. We don't miss any important event in our lives because we are stuck in traffic jams, or we discover music that we will love in the future because we have been receiving it as a preference. In Philip Morris Switzerland, for example, we use data, or we look at data to improve the consumer experience of our customer, which is at the core of everything we do. Understanding the pain points of our consumers is the driver for us to help them to shift to better alternatives than combustible tobacco. We use as well data, for example, to prioritize strategic decisions, as well to find new business opportunities to support our objective. So in a nutshell, without the North Star that data provides us, we will be a little bit blind in this environment, super competitive environment that we are facing right now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Cristina. So Vanya, we heard just before from you that how important data is and I also know from RBI and the way you're managing that. So basically, in a nutshell, what is that RBI is?
Mm-hmm. So I mean, for us as a bank, data has always been at the center of our business, having all the transactions, all the customer data, and being aware of how the customers are using our products. So we have been working on this part already for decades, I would say. The change in behavior of the customers, the expectations of the customers is also what is supporting us in this change. Yeah, so they want to have they want also to have their data. They want to be able to make these financial decisions quickly, and we have the data at hand. We just need to be able to provide this data back to them and to be able to support them in making the right decisions. I think that's the most important thing. So offering them the right product, the right support when they need it, and stop with this kind of, just a simple example, the carpet bombing campaigns where you are targeting thousands of customers and none of them are actually interested in this product. So actually understanding the customer, understanding their needs, and supporting them for the retail in their daily business, and maybe for the corporates, in their corporate life. So knowing what they would need, knowing what might come next for them, this is what we're focusing on. So actually, the basic data analytics and the basic understanding we already have. We're moving now to this next level, to support them more in a live, in a real-time environment, and making sure that we understand the individual customer, the individual user, and be able to support them where they need it. Yeah? So I think that's the advantage.
Thank you. And lastly, Armin, we have seen very exciting examples, analytics examples in your presentation before. So, but overall in Lidl, would you say everybody's aware about what that means and understands and supports the importance of data and being data focused and data centric in your organization?
I think this is exactly our task, to ensure that this happens more and more, right? I would not say that we are already fully there. I think there is still work to do. There's still many exciting use cases to be discovered, and this of course goes well along with creating awareness for the topic, because also only by creating awareness for the topic we will be able to unveil all the interesting use cases that are out there that we are not knowledgeable about yet, right? So I would say we have progressed quite a bit already, but there's still a way to go. But then I would also add two things to the topic that Cristina mentioned. So the increasing amount of data is, of course, one trend that is very, very important for the importance of becoming more data-driven. But I think then there are also two other trends that I observe that are at least equally important. So one, of course, and I think we will talk about that later, is the increased availability of computing capacity through cloud computing, right? What we can do nowadays with data was just not feasible a couple of years back. And then it's also the availability of tools and algorithms. So when I think back when I did my PhD in statistics some years back, and I compared it to what we have now as tools in Python, which libraries are out there, it's just amazing. So doing things with data has just become way more easy than it was perhaps 10 years ago. And I think these three trends come together to open these great opportunities that stem from data. And as Cristina absolutely correctly points out, who does not participate in this journey, who does not embrace these three trends, will clearly have a competitive disadvantage, and those who do it will have a competitive advantage.
And I think it's not just, I mean, definitely on competitive advantages, definitely on finding all the insight and services. I think also the economic and market circumstances, the social economic market circumstances that we've seen over the past 18 months, 2 years, for organizations not already focused on data-driven, it is absolutely hammered at home that you need to become data-driven. Not directly a commercial example, but the NHS in the UK, when the pandemic broke out, discovered that there was very limited and often completely absent integration of data between the various departments that they had to provide them with the insight that they needed to know where to test, how to test, and where to put measures in place. That equally applies to organizations. We now have to turn much faster to deal with changing circumstances in the world around us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Wim. So this takes us to, in that context, to a question in the neighborhood of this theme, which is around the data culture in an organization. So I mean, we are looking at complete new ways to work with data, complete new ways in order to provide data to the data consumers in a business. So we're talking about self-service in a data environment. We talk about data liberation, data democratization, all those kinds of things. So, and we all know the technology and the platforms and the tools that we are using are only so good as the accompanying culture is that an organization is able to build and to maintain in order to really get use of those. So, Justyna, so what is your experience in that area? What would a data-driven culture, a data culture per se, look like in an ideal world?
Yeah, sure. So for us as a bank, also with a long tradition of 150 years, of course, you still have to stay a bank. So you have a lot of regulatory requirements. So you cannot say, okay, I'm now a funny company like a startup and I don't care. No, you have your customers, you have your responsibilities. But what we try to do is turn this regulatory requirement into asset. Let me give you an example. We have to provide to each customer an overview of their fee accounts. And that's why, not only that, but that's one of the use cases which we created on our data lake and collect all this data from, I don't know, for this single overview, we need 15 different systems across the bank. And put all this data in one place. And then as we have this data in one place, we can use this also for another analytics possibilities. So that is what we are trying to do, to work more with the data, to use even such regulatory requirements and turn it into an asset. So that's absolutely something new also for me, even if I work in this area for now 70 years, and that's something what I also have to adapt to, as a lot of my colleagues. And you have also need the support from your board to fail, because that's also something important, that's you are able to drive innovations, and you have to spend your time by trying, and it's you cannot be blamed if you don't deliver something in this time. So you have this freedom to fail. It's also something new for such big organization, how to introduce this, how to adopt this new world, not to be behind the market, just to be exactly at the same time where the other competitors are now. Yes.
Right, thank you. So, Cristina, how would that look like in Philip Morris? So, what would you say you've got really an established and well-developed data culture in place, or how would it look like?
I think, as my colleagues were mentioning before, I think we all have still a long road to go, right? We are not yet we cannot say that we have 100% of data culture implemented in Philip Morris. But I think for me, one of the initial points or the starting point is most the team taking care of such a duty, right? Of bringing an organization to be data-driven. I think we are all used to hear this word of unicorns whenever we are relating to people working in data, because it's true that the persons working and driving the organization to become data-driven, they need to have, and this is something that Banja was mentioning in his presentation, they are in the intersection of three main pillars of skills, right? So we have the technology skills, how to learn new technologies that will move the needle on the business side, the fundamental data architecture knowledge to be working with IT teams hand in hand. Then the soft skills, so the capacity to manage stakeholders, to influence them, as well to build the relationship of trust with them. And then last but not least, and I think this is one of the most important for me to become a data-driven company, is the business acumen of people working in this team, meaning the interest and the knowledge of the business in and out, and the capacity to connect the dots, as well to give to the decision makers like grounded data insights, right? And this is a little bit how we started in the Swiss market here of Philip Morris. So we started exactly 3 years ago to build the data and analytics team. And at the very beginning, we were showcasing a little bit the value of using data to take decisions to some of our stakeholders. And they become pretty quick our allies, right? So then it was pretty easy to have the others on board. I must say as well that we count with the support of our board of management. So we had a push from our side as well to include always a data and analytics representative in all the cross-functional projects, because we work in cross-functional teams to lead projects on the business. So I think this as well has helped us a lot. It's a learning journey and a pedagogic one, not always easy, as you may know, but very rewarding at the end. And here in Philip Morris, for us, this is what it's about. Data culture is not only talking about systems, not only talking about data, but is how people trust and use the data in an organization, right? And just to give you an example before I end up, in the Swiss market here, all the layers of the organization use on a daily basis our dashboards, our insights. And I can tell you that if at 9 in the morning they don't have fresh data, our mailbox gets pretty full of messages. So we are not only their business partners, but we are embedded in everything they do.
Thank you, Cristina. So, Armin, in Lidl, it seems that you have a very clear data strategy. I mean, we've seen those examples, the way you are really leveraging and using data. So why would you still need data culture? Can a strong data strategy exist without a surrounding data culture in an organization?
So I would not see data strategy and data culture as substitutes, right? I would rather see them as two things that complement each other and that have to complement each other. I think neither of them can be successful without the other one, right? If I start with data culture, I think data culture is something that has to be built bottom up, right? So as many people in the organization have to have an understanding what data is, why to work with data, why it matters, how it creates value, and so on. Only then will it be possible to successfully put into practice analytics use cases, which is why we built this capability program I talked about before. But then also very clearly, you need a data strategy and a top-down commitment of the senior management to invest into data and analytics, because if there is no clear tone from the top, if there is no clear top-down message that working with data and leveraging value from data is a key priority, people in the organization won't focus on that very clearly, because then people will spend their time, their resources on other things. So I think both sides of the coin are needed, both the data strategy and the data culture, to then really be able to create value out of data.
Absolutely, thank you. So then let's move to the more technical piece of this discussion regarding what we call the architecture. So I think there's a common sense, and most of the organizations understand that the way they have been storing, managing, moving data in the past is not helping anymore. So, but as always, there are different concepts, right? There are different concepts, there are different solutions, there are different architectures. So, and sometimes I think when we talk to customers, it's really difficult for them really to understand and navigate them through all those things and really figure out what should be the right way to do this. What should be our concept? What should be, I mean, there are so many things around in a physical kind of way to manage, or a logical way. We've got data lakes house, we've got data fabrics around, and all those kind of things. So Wim, you are talking to lots of customers, what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, I think indeed a data strategy, a data culture is incredibly important. Yet we shouldn't lose sight of what it actually means to become that data-driven organization. You can't just say, I deploy a better data warehouse, I pick a snazzier data science tool, and all my problems are solved. It's not about that. It's about being able to manage data with a variety of analytics across its whole data lifecycle. But more and more, that data lifecycle and the analytics are happening in not just one infrastructure, not just on our data center, not just in public cloud. Many organizations are committed, the majority of organizations are committed hybrid cloud users. They have a hybrid cloud strategy. How do you do lots of analytics with ever more data across a heterogeneous landscape, while at the same time being ever more aware of not just supporting your own data strategy and data needs, but also remaining compliant with the increasing data privacy regulation, with the industry regulation that you have. And lastly, without tying yourself to any one particular vendor. You can't make the success for your organization to get insight from your data to one particular vendor. So what we then define as the architecture, the modern architecture to become that data-driven organization is something we call an enterprise data cloud. It is something that allows you to deploy to any infrastructure, hybrid cloud, public clouds, private cloud, or just native data center. It's something that provides the range of analytics you need to manage that data lifecycle, but does it with consistent security and governance, so that regardless of where your data is, regardless where your analytics are, you have a single view of what constitutes sensitive data with all the rules associated with it on who can access it and why. And then lastly, make it something that is open for integration with the existing tools and systems that you have, but also based on open source. So again, you are not beholden to any one proprietary vendor delivering technology that you may or may not be able to implement. So the strategy, the architecture should build on an enterprise data cloud.
So Wim, I have another question for in terms of a logical or physical concept. Is this something that an organization should go for either one or the other, or can you see coexistence of those worlds? So what
there's definitely an opportunity for coexistence, and it is not a pick one tool and that will be everything. No, and that's why the element of open is so incredibly important. I mean, as Cloudera, we provide Cloudera Data Platform, but we also have a very good partnership with Denodo, with lots of other organizations out there that together provide this complete solution for an organization.
Okay, thank you. So Justyna, in Commerzbank, so what kind of architecture have you implemented? Are you aiming for? So what is your strategic direction in that respect?
Yes, so first of all, we started 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, to build a data lake at Commerzbank. We also use working together with Cloudera and using the platform. And it's the idea was first of all to provide them to collect the data and provide the data to the entire bank. But it didn't work because you need time to collect the data, to analyze them, and to mask them, to develop the concept. And you cannot push now your running system on this few months data lake. So that was something what we learned, very painful. And also our mailbox were also full of questions and asking. And we decided after now this period of time to switch from the operational layer to more analytics layer, that we use the data for analytics, that it's not important to be available 24/7. Okay, if we now move to the cloud, we have again this opportunity, but our colleagues don't have to wait for late to move to the cloud. They can also move to the cloud by themselves. So that was really a lesson what we learned for how to use the data. So and to focus more on analytics part in, for example, for data lake, and to push the operational layer on the other hand. That was a lot of discussion, architectural board that we presented it to our board members, and to get this support to do this in this way. And the transformation still takes part. So that's still ongoing. It's something where the people are still coming to ask and say, you promise you want. You are responsible for everything. No, we're not responsible for everything. Please try to understand that we are building and need this time to understand and how it's working the best way, how it creates revenues, how we can save costs. So, all these topics which are really important for us. And that's still ongoing process on our side. I can.
And this journey is still ongoing, so it's probably always ongoing. You never come to an end. Whenever you
thank you. That sounds very
Thank you, Justyna. So cloud. I mean, we have heard cloud a lot, even in this panel. And probably this is the area there was so many changes in the last few years only. I remember, and I know probably the same for you, there have been large organizations where cloud was a no-go a few years ago, and today they claim to be cloud first. So those kind of things, and lots of changes also in the strategic direction. In respect of managing data in the cloud, a multi-cloud, in a hybrid way, so between your premise and the cloud. Typically, what we see within our customers, it's a very diverse landscape. And so large organizations are having their cloud all over the place, which is a big challenge, as we know, when it comes to really consolidating and create views and regarding analytics across their data silos and the various organizations. So, Vanya, my question to you would be how is that in RBI? How do you overcome those challenges with those diverse landscape?
I would be very, very honest and frank and say gradually, so step by step. Yeah, there is no silver bullet, and I think anybody looking for a silver bullet will be very disappointed.
Okay, so Wim, what is your experience? How do organizations tackle these sometimes huge barriers? And we see this is really something which is a big headache for many organizations.
Yeah,
to overcome these obstacles.
That's absolutely the case. I think organizations have been spinning their wheels a little bit. The promise of public cloud is a very big one. And many of them made the decision to dip their toes in and migrate some of their workloads and indeed come up with strategies that are about cloud first or cloud migration. Although at the same time, you're also hearing a lot of organizations now talk about repatriating of workloads. I don't think it's necessarily one or the other. Repatriation always sounds like we've made a mistake, we need to bring it back. That's not necessarily the case. I think if you're thinking about hybrid cloud, you should start to think about how you can take advantage of this heterogeneous landscape of infrastructures to do things that previously you've not been able to do. An example, for example, we have a US health insurer, and one of the things that they would like to do is build a data science factory to be able to take data science out of the lab and make it a production line. Well, they use hybrid cloud because they do some of the data analysis initially on premises. They shift to public cloud when it comes to training the models, where you need expensive GPUs, lots of resource. And when the model is then created, the productionized model is brought back on premise. Those kinds of hybrid cloud use cases are what organizations are now starting to realize they can take advantage of. And it's about data agility. It's about being able to migrate to different public clouds without having to rewrite your analytics. It's about building something once and running it everywhere. It is turning into dynamic motion of analytics, and later on, perhaps if we get rid of some of the data egress fees for public clouds, also being able to move data flexibly between different infrastructures. But again, coming back to the previous comment that I made about an enterprise data cloud, you need to have that flexibility. And the biggest part of that flexibility is consistent security and governance. With that in place, you can start to move your data and analytics where they make better sense. Your business imperatives of something needs to be economic, it needs to be resilient, it needs to be regional, it needs to be with a low carbon footprint, can start to feed into your decisions as to how and where you deploy your data and analytics.
Absolutely. So if I may just quickly contribute, I mean, I make an exception here, I'm the moderator, but this is really something that we are seeing every single day, that there is a good reason why large organizations have all those different data sources and have a distributed landscape. And organizations have tried for a long time, and you know that, to bring those data together, physically, logically, whatever. And in most of the cases, it did not work. So, and our recommendation is always leave the data where it is. There's a good reason why every data source has its advantages, and the kind of data, for example, like big data is probably best managed in a data lake kind of technology, right? But there's other data that is better managed in a different environment. So Our recommendation is leave the data where it is and really try to find a logical way to use the data. So we come to the last area of questions. So we live in the age of AI and machine learning, and we all have seen very impressive examples how AI and machine learning can really help organizations automate tasks, to perform tasks and in a fraction of time to manage large volume tasks. Absolutely impressive. In terms of data management and data concepts, which role can or plays AI and machine learning already in your organization, or which role can it play in the future in the context of data management? So Armin, what is your point of view here?
Yeah, so as we said before, data culture and data strategy influence each other mutually in a positive manner. I think that data and AI benefit each other mutually as well. So of course, you need proper data in order to be able to run analytics use cases to train all kinds of AI models. I think that's pretty much clear. But then also the other way around. Good analytics use cases, good AI use cases, I think can help to benefit all the discussions around data strategy, around data governance, and so on. Because if you just talk about data governance, let's say, without real application, it's probably for an organization not the fanciest topic and not the topic that will excite people. But if you are capable to build some great analytics use cases that rely on data, that create real value, that help the company to do things better, if you're capable to build some lighthouses, then you have very good arguments in the discussion within the corporation why you need to improve data quality, why you need to implement certain data governance criteria and so on. So I think, again, we have a mutual positive influence of two things here if done properly.
Thank you, Armin. So I wanted to ask Vanya, but it seems that he lost connection, unfortunately. So maybe
I hope I'm back.
With us.
Vanya, are you here?
Yes.
Ah, okay, sorry, I can see you. So that if you hear us, so what is your perspective here on the contribution of AI and machine learning in a data management context? So what opportunities do you see here?
So using AI and analytics and machine learning in order to improve our data pipelines and the data management is definitely an untapped resource. I mean, we are just scratching the surface here. We are starting also in RBI, with using maybe anomaly detection to be able to early detect any problems or any outliers in the data. And that's maybe a basic case where you start to automate your data assurance, data quality checks, and this is maybe the first step that you do. I mean, looking at the future, there is definitely potential there. I think as we learn, like with many other things, as we learn how to deal with these large amounts of data and how to utilize them, we are also learning how to govern them better and how to improve. I think it's not just on the data management, in operations in general. The AI ops movement is something which is growing, where I think there will be a lot of potential, to automate, to recognize, to improve the business processes and the back office processes, where I think we are currently not there yet as a company. And I see also as a community of organizations that I'm in touch with, at least, this is something where this is untapped potential. Yeah. But the important thing for us first as a company is twofold. On one hand, to support the customers directly better. So this would be something indirect that they would feel afterwards, but directly to support them. And on the other hand, to support our business to understand the value of it and, to get some advantages and some benefits out of it. And I think when we cover these bases, then we can move to this next step. And maybe just lastly, going through, I saw in the chats, maybe we covered this in the last few minutes. There was a lot of talk about transparency, about data ethics, about responsible AI, about explainability. I think that's another, let's say, a topic where we are just scratching the surface as well. So we are definitely also in RBI having discussions around it, talking about how we can prove our models. As a bank, definitely we have the responsibility, and I think we are dealing with the data that we have about our customers and their behavior in a very, very responsible way, much more so than some of the other organizations out there. Yeah, but definitely there, I think we need maturity as a society as well to be able to tackle this properly. And also the vendors, I think, have to be able to enable this. So it's not coming out of the box at the moment, and I think in a few years it will be. So I think it will be slowly integrated into the daily life.
Thank you, Vanya. So maybe Cristina, in PMI, where are you? And are you leveraging machine learning AI already in your organization in regard with data management?
Yes, sure. We are starting. Well, as I was mentioning at the very beginning, our team here in the Swiss market is pretty recent, and we were starting everything from scratch. So the journey is a little bit different, I think, from our side, because we needed to build the basics of a data and analytics team. We are running some machine learning models, but in regards of what Vanya was just mentioning, for example, when it comes to the data in regards of the performance of the business, I think here in Philip Morris we are pretty transparent in that sense. But when it comes to data related to consumers, as a regulated company, we are very careful, right? So I think here is where the machine learning starts to come a little bit of a topic for us. But yes, we are leveraging in some cases machine learning to better support our consumers.
Good, thank you, Cristina. So Wim, in your space and with your customers, so what do you see overall? So to what degree do those people utilize the possibilities and the technology around machine learning and AI?
I think
Are we at the beginning here? Are we at the beginning?
At the beginning, to one of the points that Vanya made, it's like as vendors, we need to be able to bring more of the machine learning and artificial intelligence into our products in order to support our customers using our products to get faster, to get better at it. And I see that the application of machine learning and artificial intelligence to perhaps be faster and easier at identifying sensitive data, being able to prepare data faster. That's the one hand side. On the other hand, there is a direct application of AI and ML in operations. It's becoming a data-driven organization is about getting more insight and value from data faster. Well, we have more data as humans. We start to come to our shortcomings of being able to deal with more data much faster. AI and ML can help that, can move our analytics from being something that is a little bit more retrospective, descriptive analytics, to be able to start to predict the future, prescriptive analytics, predictive analytics, so that we can, again, as organizations, we can become faster at and better at driving insight and value from our data. One example, a very large bank, they are forever putting out business loans. And if you think that for your home mortgage, you have a lot of paperwork to go through, well, for a business loan, it's several times that. As a bank, you need to make sure that you reduce risk in who you give these loans to. And yeah, they have it's like a raft of legal folks to actually go through that detail, go through all these contracts. They are able to, by teaching a machine learning model to go through these contracts, to identify things that are outside of what the normal standards are, to save like 360,000 hours worth of work, so that those legal folk can focus on reducing risk for the bank and not trying to find errors in large parts of document. So tremendous applications, and as vendors, we only support it.
Perfect. Thank you, Wim. I'm afraid this brings us to the end.